Hi there everyone, Amy Garrow here. Today I'm going to show you a little bit about how I lay out my patterns. So I recently taught a class at QuiltCon about how to design paper-based patterns. Right now I'm just going to talk about the layout. So at this point in my design process, I would already have the concept for a block or a quilt pattern. Right here I'm going to show you my Texas Star pattern, which is a free pattern. And over here I have the paper piecing patterns that are needed to complete this block. I've also made sure to include a 1-inch square so that way when it's printed out, people can double check to make sure that in fact they have printed it correctly without it being scaled or anything like that. This, as with all of my designs, and my illustrations are sketched out ahead of time in Adobe Illustrator. This is a really old version. However, you may subscribe to Adobe Illustrator for not too much money nowadays, and I will provide a link to that in my blog post. And again, the only reason I have this program is because I used to be a design major in college, and I do find it very useful. But this is Adobe Illustrator CS3, so anything CS3 and above I would suggest. I wouldn't suggest below that because there's this really great paint bucket tool that you can use for filling in your designs. Okay, at this point I'm going to hop on over to a program called InDesign. So Adobe has created these different programs, each one with a specific purpose. Photoshop is for editing photographs, Illustrator is for creating illustrations, and InDesign is for page layout. At this point, I'm popping over. I've already put a lot of the text in, so you guys don't have to take the time to watch me fill all that out. But if you're new to this, you're going to fill in a text box by simply drawing one, typing, blah, blah, blah. That's how you would create text within your page. Really simple. I'm going to delete that. But you would create a new document by hitting File, New, Document, File, New, File, New Document, saying how many pages we wanted, etc. And then writing out as much of your directions as you have created thus far. And at this point, I am going to start placing images. Here I've got my main page. I like to have a photograph on the main page. Down here I've got my directions. I've started putting some of them in my fonts, but not all of them. I have 2 fonts that I tend to use for my branding purposes, and one of them is this Bombshell font, and the other one is Lane Narrow, which is here. This is just Times New Roman, so I'm going to come back and switch that. When I'm up here, what I'm going to do is place my image that I would like to appear on the front. I like to use, first of all, let's go to find my documents that I need. Patterns, blocks. Gotta go to my star blocks. Okay, I like to have an image on the cover because it's really nice to see an actual image that you're working with. Now, all I did was hit place, and if you'll notice, things kind of like to snap right to those edges there. And I'm going to hit Control Shift and drag this corner out. That drags the whole thing out. And I'm going to make it at least as wide as my page here. The only thing though is you'll see that I have something here in my photo that doesn't look very nice, the edge of the photo, so I'm going to make it even a little bit wider. There we go. Now when I just drag it out without saying Control Shift, what that does is it drags the bounding box in and around the image and can cut it off or make it bigger, and that's not what I want right now. Now, one more thing that I'm looking at too is that this square here is not lining up very evenly on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and Control Shift and drag this side out as well to kind of even that out. And now I'm going to send the image all the way to the back. One way of doing that is hitting Control-Shift left bracket. You can also go to Object, Arrange, and Send to Back. Alright, that's all the way at the back. I have a white square there, rectangle. Okay, so I am going to shift this around so that it works a little bit better as the cover of a pattern. So I'm going to move this up, and I'm going to change my text so that it is white. Where's my text box? Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to slide on over here to stroke, color, and I'm going to change it all the way to white. 0% is white. There we go. Now I don't want the outline there, so now I turn it off. Oops. Change this to the 0. There we go. Going to repeat that with this text area. Then I'm going to go ahead and move these down. Now I like to include on the front of every pattern the size of the finished block. So I've got that on here as well. Block finishes at 12 inches. I indicate that it's free because that means you can give it to your friends, which is awesome. Okay, I'm dragging this down. The title, I could probably move this. Well, actually I want that snapped right on there. All right. That looks pretty good, I think. Okay, now I'm going to hop on down to the next page where I have my preparation and cutting. Going to get everything changed on over to my correct font, which is Lane. Okay. It's saying, hey, you don't have bold in this font. That's fine. So I'm just going to leave it. That font, Lane is one of my branding fonts that I use. It doesn't have bold. It's a little sad, but c'est la vie. Okay, at some point too, I would like to include this text that this is a free pattern and that you may photocopy it for personal use so that people can take it to Kinko's, FedEx, and copy it without being stopped by the employees, because sometimes they don't let you copy things if there's not an explicit permission included. Okay, now I've got my cutting directions. I would like to, I like to keep as many of my directions as possible at a half column or of the page, because that's what the eye tends to read most easily. And when I'm working on a full quilt pattern, I'll have 2 columns of cutting directions. This one's a block, so I don't need 2 columns. So I'm going to put a picture over here. So let's go to place, and I'm going to go ahead and place. I got a nice preview down here. Where is it? This. I would like to place a preview of these. Okay, I might need to make that. If I need to make smaller, again, I do use the Control-Shift. We'll kind of see once I get going what we think. That might be good. I have my suggested alternative directions for fabric placement. I could put that over here. Might want to put it here. Okay. Bring that down. Again, I'm going to go ahead and put that into my branding font. Lane. And I'm going to bump it down so that way, there we go, it's all on one line, size-wise. I've used the rectangle tool, which you can find right here, to go ahead and draw these little squares right here. And I'm going to bring them over. That way you can tell fabric A is this piece, and fabric B this piece, and fabric C is this piece, and the background is white. Going to go ahead and come on over here. Next are my, well, I think I might want to bring this down a little bit because that's kind of close to this dropped P right here, the lowercase p. So I'm going to come on over here. I've got my next title, piecing the block. Going to slide my directions up. It looks a little bit better if you can to keep the directions on each page the same. So I'm going to drag a guide bar down. I'm going to snap each side to the guide bar so that way they look the same distance down. And switch this on over to lane. Okay, good to go. Now piecing the block, I have some piecing sketches that I will go ahead and place. They're right here. I'm going to grab them on over here. Okay, let's check out. I probably want them centered. So what I'm going to do is drag a center guide. Okay, it's right there. Going to go ahead. This snaps really easily right there to the center, which is awesome. I would like to start using the illustrations under step 1. Sew together opposite pairs to create 4 quadrants and press seams open. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just hit enter. This is just one way of doing it. This is not necessarily the best way of doing this, but I'm just going to hit enter. So together pairs of quadrants to create 2 halves. So step 3 goes with these, and step 4 goes with this. And that's good enough. I'm not going to get crazy picky about the things I'm doing. Okay, and then I have, okay, stuff about my fabric placement. That's not going to fit on this page anymore. I want that to go to the back so I can actually grab this text here. There we go. So I just use Control Shift left bracket to send to the back. But again, if you need to send something to the back, hit Object and then Arrange, send backward, or send all the way to the back. I'm going to bring this text down here. And I'm going to create, I'm going to place my pattern pieces on my pattern page. They are right here. Again, they have that 1-inch square. And I've got that copyright notice right here. So I don't think that I need, I'm sending that to the back so I can access that text box. I don't think that I need to include it anywhere else. So I'm probably just going to delete the other one. Change that to my branding font. This is going to be centered. This is going to be placed here. And then this one can just go down here. I'm going to change everything over to lane. And this right here. Now, this is pretty close to that right there. I want to change that. So I'm going to come up here and see where exactly I placed that guideline. It was, oh, it's kind of at a random place. 1, 2, 3 and a half right there. Drag this down. Place a guideline. Oops, can't see. Come on. Well, normally this works. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, right there. Okay, so I'm going to drag this down right here, and I'm going to place my coloring page, and then I'll be done.